It's a 2-year contract. Our NFL insider Jonathan Jones confirming that. Receiver Mike Evans and the Buccaneers are staying together for $52 million, $35 million guaranteed for Mike there.
One of the biggest dominoes that could have fallen throughout NFL free agency before NFL free agency even began was the future of Mike Evans. Considering the amount of drama that he caused in the beginning of the season, the decision that Mike Evans was going to make and what he could offer to any team, especially considering his price point, made him one of the most valuable commodities in all of free agency. And he's already made his decision, and to be honest, it's one that really shocked me. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! Public service announcement. We're working tirelessly to get you Russell Wilson. It should be up within the next hour. Make sure you drop a like to support us, and let's get this video going. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? There is no doubt in anyone's mind that Mike Evans will one day be in the NFL Hall of Fame. This is an individual that's had over 1,000 yards receiving in each and every single one of his seasons in the NFL. And it's even more impressive when you consider the quarterbacks that he did it with. It didn't matter if it was Jameis Winston, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Mike Glennon, Tom Brady, or Baker Mayfield. Mike Evans would consistently bring you the same result. But there is reason to believe that after this last contract, Mike Evans would be looking elsewhere. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were undergoing a huge transition over the past year. Tom Brady officially retired, and they brought in Baker Mayfield, who was supposed to be their bridge quarterback. They brought Baker Mayfield on a very cheap $8 million contract to prove himself. At least what I was speculating was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to evaluate the quarterback talent on their roster and maybe look to draft their new quarterback in this NFL draft. But as we know, in the Baker Mayfield cycle, every single time someone stops believing in Baker Mayfield or he becomes an underdog, he begins to prove people wrong. And in this very case, Baker Mayfield did just that. Not only would Baker Mayfield go into the preseason and win the starting QB job, which was a question mark when he was signed to begin with, but he also had the best season of his career, throwing for over 4,000 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. And I don't think this was by luck, by the way. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have one of the best wide receiving cores in all of the NFL. At the very minimum, a top 5 wide receiving core in the NFL when they're fully healthy. There's a reason why Tom Brady joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during his free agency to begin with. Just like that, Baker Mayfield went from Carolina's wide receiving core, although he did have DJ Moore when he was in Carolina, to being able to throw it to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, supported with a great rushing attack featuring Rachaad White. But not everybody knew that this was going to be the case in the beginning of the season, and Mike Evans especially made it known when he made a threat to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you guys remember, in the beginning of the season, Mike Evans gave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers till September 9th in order to give him a long-term contract.
There's talks of it a snag between the sides, and this could be Evans' last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, let's take another step toward that, because Mike Evans' agent, Derek Gilmore of Day One Sports, sent me a statement just now in which he says that the sides, or that side, Evans' side, will cut off negotiations with the Buccaneers if a deal is not reached by September 9th, which is next Saturday, one day before the Buccaneers open the regular season. He says beyond that point, 100% of Mike's focus will be on football. Now, he doesn't say it explicitly in the statement, but I believe that when he says cut off negotiations, it's not just, oh, for the rest of the season. I think he's cutting off negotiations, period, and that Evans and Gilmore will now look toward a future that does not include Evans in a Buccaneers uniform. So the deadline has been set. There is no offer that has been made to this point, according to Gilmore in this statement. Now, that doesn't mean the sides haven't had some discussions about money. It's just that there's been no formal offer to this point.
At the time, Mikerophone said that the deadline was set. Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans' agent says in a statement that he will cut off contract negotiations if the sides don't reach a deal by next Saturday, one day before before Tampa's season kicks off. Year 10 could be Mike Evans' final season as a Buccaneer. And I can understand why Mike Evans was gunning for this. Typically, once you reach the age of 30, you don't necessarily secure the contracts that you once did. In a press release by Mike Evans' agent, he said that when Mike Evans was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization, his promises were to win a Super Bowl and be a Buck for life. He knew he would do everything in his power to make both come true. For the last 9 years, Mike has set records on the field that will surely put him in the Hall of Fame. He is considered one of the most selfless teammates by his peers and coaching staff and has been one of the most charitable players in the National Football League. He loves Tampa and the community surrounding the Bucs, and after keeping his promise of winning a Super Bowl, he hopes to uphold his promise to be a Buck for life. As he enters year 10, he is facing the prospect of doing so with uncertainty surrounding his future. Despite our efforts over the past 2 years and the professionalism of Bucs general manager Jason Licht and assistant general manager Mike Greenberg, we have not received an offer to stay in Tampa. This is disappointing to Mike as he sees other teams step up to keep key pieces and players that are important to their organizations. Many players with his status would have held out of camp to not risk injury, but Mike has continued practicing hard, as always, because he puts his team first. When you have a player that will be a Hall of Famer and still has 4 to 6 more years to make an impact in the league, you move heaven and earth to keep him on your team. And we would hope ownership feels the same way. We have been working on extending Mike's career with the Bucs for over a year, and we want the fans to know that this is not a tactic and the ball's in the owner's court. That said, we are giving the Bucs until the start of the regular season to make him a Buck for life. And if that cannot happen, 100% of Mike's focus will be on football and his future where he can continue to make an impact. Mike wants the next phase of his career to be with an organization who wants him and wants him to help win a Super Bowl, which is why we have informed the Bucs organization that we will discontinue contract discussions as of September 9th, 2023. And I could understand going into this season thinking that Mike Evans' numbers may dwindle a little bit. After all, you're going from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield. With all due respect, coming into this season, Baker Mayfield was holding on to a spot in the NFL for dear life. At the time, Mike Evans had this to say about the situation.
Do you think there will be a deal done?
I don't know. We got a little bit of time left, but we'll see.
There isn't a deal.
Ownership and management are going to do what they feel is best for the team and the team's future, and I'm going to do what's best for me and my future. And right now, that's just playing some good ball.
Like, it's tough when you realize that this is obviously a business, you know firsthand that it is. And you look at the salary cap situation the Bucs are in because of what's happened in the last few years, and then you have you and Chris. Do you think it's doable to have you and Chris have a long-term contract and still be a competitive team here?
Absolutely. I think other teams have done something similar, but this is my last time talking about contracts situations. I'm looking forward to having a great season this year, and whatever happens, I'll be all right.
Mike, is it hard for you to think that this could be your last year here in Tampa?
Nah, like I said, I'm blessed, man. I've been blessed to play this game for a really long time. Made a lot of plays, made a lot of money. It's not even about that. I'm just happy to be in this position.
So going into this season, I could understand why Mike Evans felt the urgency to get a contract extension, but the Buccaneers surpassed everybody's expectations. Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans were a remarkable duo, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to make it to the playoffs once again. Mike Evans had 13 touchdowns and over 1,200 receiving yards, and then the question was, where was Mike Evans going to go? Because there were multiple teams that were interested in him, and I personally thought that he was going to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. But aside from the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tennessee Titans, LA Rams, New England Patriots, New York Giants, Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons, and Jacksonville Jaguars were all interested in him. But the problem is whenever you leave the team that's drafted you, that you've achieved so much for, and you go to another team, there's a lot of risk involved. You could potentially go to the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid doesn't feature you as much. You could go to the New England Patriots and Mac Jones could just suck. I think the Carolina Panthers would have made a lot of sense because he would have reunited with Dave Canales and it could have potentially helped Bryce Young. But again, yet another wild card. The Jacksonville Jaguars have a lot of depth at wide receiver. So if you stay in Tampa Bay, obviously, you're going to be featured a lot in the offense. You're going to get the respect of your peers for being a Buccaneer for that long and what you've achieved for that organization, especially winning a Super Bowl with that organization. And it seems like Mike Evans has officially made his decision. And a decision that personally shocked me, before free agency begins next week, the Buccaneers and 5-time 2-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Mike Evans reached an agreement on a 2-year, $52 million contract that includes $35 million guaranteed. Evans now has a real chance to start and finish his career as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. This is incredible. I cannot overstate the importance of Mike Evans to this team, primarily because I credit Mike Evans' presence for Baker Mayfield being able to have the best season of his career. So if you want to bring Baker Mayfield back, but you don't want to bring Mike Evans back, I'd expect Baker Mayfield to have a similar year as he had in 2021 or maybe 2019. Baker needs a #1 wide receiver, and I think Mike Evans is the best wide receiver that Baker has ever played with in his entire career. An individual that wasn't too much of a diva about not getting the ball, an individual that he has tremendous chemistry with, that has always put him in places to succeed. I will admit though, I thought that Mike Evans would be tempted to leave. The Kansas City Chiefs desperately need a #1 wide receiver, and he wouldn't really cost as much money, but I think the reason why he stayed in Tampa Bay is one, he knows what he's getting in Tampa Bay, especially if the Buccaneers bring back Baker Mayfield, which again, completely different story. There's a lot of teams interested in Baker Mayfield, but also if he wanted to go to a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, he would have to take a huge pay cut to do so. He's already won a Super Bowl, so I don't imagine him ring chasing at this point. I would just imagine him staying and trying to win more with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At the end of the day, A+ for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers doing this because one, the length of the contract is perfect. It's 2 years. You're not overpaying him. It's only $35 million guaranteed that could go up to $53 million, which doesn't even make him a top 5 highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, especially considering the contracts that are coming up for some of the wide receivers in the NFL, like Justin Jefferson, for instance, and Jamar Chase. This is such a home run for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Mike Evans for giving them a hometown discount, so I give an A+ to both sides. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about Mike Evans' decision? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.